Bill with you, and a new production is currently underway at Progress Theatre in Reading that has been decades, not years, in the making. It's the first time since 1976 that this production has been performed, and it's the second attempt by the Progress Theatre Company to get it on stage. The first was due to be in May 2020, so you can probably imagine what kept it off the stage at that point. The Silence of the Sea tells the story of a French family forced to take in a German officer billeted to their home in World War II. I'm joined by director Dorothy, producer Marie, Gareth, who plays the uncle, and Ukrainian refugee Anya, who plays the niece. 3 performances down, 3 performances to go. Welcome all.
Thank you.
Very nice to see you all. Got to start, Dorothy, with this fascinating story of why this has been such a long gestation period.
Well, yes, I saw this adaptation for the first time in 1976 when I was a student at Keele University, and this was put on by the wonderful Victoria Theatre in Hanley, Stoke-on-Trent.
I've been there more than once.
Have
yes.
you indeed?
Well, not too far. I didn't grow up too far away from there, and occasionally there'd be a play that was relevant to our O-level or A-level syllabus, and off we'd go in the bus up to Stoke.
Well, my friends and I went to see a lot of plays there, actually, because we had a free shuttle bus from Keele to Newcastle-under-Lyme, and then we could walk from there.
How far is it to walk from Newcastle?
I honestly don't remember, but
Must
I remember
be quite
it was
a walk.
steep, but it was the Newcastle side of Stoke.
I
so
see.
it was maybe a mile, I don't know.
Oh, is that all it is?
Yeah.
Oh, my
And
geography should be better for
I
the North
think
Midlands, but it's not.
I think it's really Newcastle-under-Lyme rather than Stoke, where it was in those days. It's
I
moved
see.
now. It's not the
that'll
same
be it
theatre
then.
anymore.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yes, so I went to see that. Absolutely loved the production, so much so that I went back to see it again the next day on my own because my friends weren't quite as enamoured.
Yeah.
And it always stayed with me. And so that when I came back to the UK in 2011 and got involved with the Progress Theatre...
Having been where?
I lived in France most of my life.
Oh, perfect for this then.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
And it stood me in good stead in France because people were very impressed that I'd heard of it. Because it's very well known in France.
Oh, right.
Yes, so when I came back, I thought I'd love to do it and discovered that it wasn't out there. You can't buy it. You can't buy this adaptation. So I contacted the Victoria Theatre in Stoke-on-Trent and managed to get in touch with the lady who was digitising the archives. And she said, well, we haven't got to that yet, but when we do, we'll let you know. Right. And about 5 years later, she was faithful. Yeah.
Did she warn you it might be a very long time?
She did. She said, we've
Right.
got a long way to go. It's a big job.
Yes.
But then she let me have the script. So then I said to her, how would you feel about us actually putting this on in Reading? She got back to Vercore's estate and they gave us their blessing.
Is that the author's estate?
That's the author's estate,
Yeah.
yes. And then she gave us her blessing because she is the widow of Peter Cheeseman, who did this original adaptation. So it's quite unique. This doesn't exist.
It's quite unique, but Marie, it's also quite a responsibility when you've got all that baggage, isn't it?
Yes, and taking it to France certainly was very challenging.
Yes, because we should point out the plan was to do it here and then to tour it, as it were, to France.
Yes.
And that got flipped over, didn't it?
That's right, yes. So we started in France, having not being able
because
to...
of COVID.
Because of COVID.
Had
So
stopped
originally
happening
it was
here,
on
yeah.
in May 2020, and then this time around it's on in June. So we took it to France in May instead.
You did it in English, presumably, in
yes,
France, did you?
with
Right.
subtitles up on a screen.
Just one venue or a little tour?
We took it to a chateau, so it was one venue.
Yes.
And it was quite challenging, actually. We were putting it on in a conference room, so it wasn't a theatre. So we actually had to carry the stage up the back stairs into the venue.
Crikey.
So the actors got rather a lot more than they bargained for there.
Yeah.
But
what sort of reaction did you get from the French? Because, a very different situation, isn't it? I know the Second World War was terrible for everybody, but this was specifically about the way it was terrible for them.
Yes,
because we were never occupied, obviously. So,
and that's a part of France that was very close to the demarcation line, so there was a lot of smuggling of people to and from in that area. It's actually where I grew up, and we grew up with the sense of that invasion, so I think it's still very fresh in everybody's minds.
So how was the crowd?
Well, we were talking about this with your producer earlier, actually. The crowd was very quiet through the whole play, and we were a little bit worried. We weren't getting much of a reaction. And then at the end, we got this raucous applause and the standing ovation. They absolutely loved it.
Oh, wow.
And the following night, we sold a lot more tickets. Clearly, everyone had gone and told everybody, you have to come and see this.
Yes.
And so it was very, very well received.
I believe that's how it used to be for rock stars in Japan, apparently.
Oh, really?
Not so much these days now that the world is a global village, but, great big acts who toured all the European countries and the US, and they used to, now we're going to do our numbers, and everyone goes mad and all that. And not a sound, apparently, like 40, 50 years ago. From I'm absolutely dying on my bottom out here, this is awful. And then finally, when the show was over, just the same reaction.
Yes.
Just culturally, that was the thing to do.
Yes, yeah. I think it's disrespectful to make noise during a live production.
Yes,
so,
or in this case, a production about that particular subject would be why.
Potentially, but I think generally they're not very reactive audiences because it's seen as disrespectful. Yes.
Well, isn't that interesting?
It is. Yeah.
And there are many more interesting aspects to this production as well, which we will talk about in just a moment. It's Progress Theatre's The Silence of the Sea on today, tomorrow and Saturday. You've got 3 days still to see it. Bill Buckley, your host until 2. We're talking about the current production at Progress Theatre in Reading, which is The Silence of the Sea. The director, the producer, and 2 of the cast are with me at the moment. And one of those cast members is Anya, who is a Ukrainian refugee and who plays the niece. And a very interesting performance, Anya, because you do not speak, correct?
Yeah.
You don't speak. Okay. No. She's a bit worried about her English, but it's not that bad, and I'm sure we'll manage fine with everybody else's help.
Ask my cast. It's not bad.
It's good.
Well, so tell me about this role then. What is your part exactly? Just talk us through. What do you do?
What I think about my.
Who do you play?
Yeah.
Who do? Sorry, I think I need help, Marie.
Okay.
Okay. Do you want to move back in then, Marie, and tell us about that?
Anya plays the niece, who is the silence of the play. So the way that the niece rebels against the German moving into their house is that she refuses to speak to him, which worked out quite well for Anya because she doesn't speak lots of English.
Yeah, I don't speak much English. No. Sorry, people.
Anya came over from Ukraine in September last year and didn't speak a word of English when she arrived. But
you are a professional actress, though, yes?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Sorry.
What plays have you done? What work have you done in Ukraine?
In Ukraine, in theater.
Yeah.
What plays were you in?
Very different. Mm-hmm. Israel girl I play, and Ukrainian girl. Maybe you know poet. Taras Shevchenko, I think.
I'm afraid we probably don't.
Yeah.
No. But quite a range of parts then, yeah.
Lots of different parts.
Yeah, very different parts. Yeah.
Do you want to just explain how you work that then? If you've got a cast member who you can't communicate with fully anyway, verbally, as you would with anybody else in a cast.
Well, I think it's fair to say we've had our challenges. But we're lucky that my sister started learning Russian about 6 years ago because she has a close Russian friend. And she's very keen on languages generally. So she was able to attend some of the rehearsals. And Anya speaks very good Russian.
Right.
So she was able to help us with some of it. Yes. And also we've depended a lot on apps on the phone. So Say Hi has been a bit of a lifesaver because you can speak Russian into it and it'll spit English back at you and vice versa.
I mean, presumably Director Dorothy, she has to understand what's going on because she'll be, even if she's not saying anything, she'll be emoting and reacting to the script. So that's
exactly
you've made
right,
a very difficult job for yourselves and her, really.
We did. We espoused difficulty.
You did. What are the tricks that you managed to...
Initially, we thought, she doesn't need to speak, so it doesn't matter that she doesn't speak English. But, of course, that proved to be a slight oversimplification because she needs to understand what's happening in the scene. She is on stage for the entire play, reacting all the time to what's happening in the scene. So... even though she's not speaking, she needs to understand. And what has helped us enormously was that the 2 cast members, the 2 men, understood from the beginning and have been wonderful in helping her, in doing physical movements and so on, which clue her in to what she needs to do there. And they've been very understanding and very patient. And
so
it works.
she can learn those things that other people just like learning lines then,
Yes,
really.
exactly.
Yes,
Little
brilliant.
clues in their movements, which...
One of those heroes in his cape is Gareth, of course, who plays the uncle who's here with us now. So this has been a production for you, not quite like any other, Gareth. What do you think you will take away from it?
I think everything that we've talked about. I mean, Anya's acting is about more than just language, and that silence, how we can communicate even when we don't say things is just so important. I think this, in some ways, I've thought a lot about how it's almost like a case study in trauma, how we sometimes have to suppress our ability to communicate, but there's this urge, isn't there, that we all have to do that. So I think even though we're silent, the narration that I give as the uncle is so important, because it's about that humanity that exists even when somebody is traumatized, or a nation in this case was traumatized, and it's something that I think it's very poignant, and the language in the script is just gorgeous. It's beautiful, and I think in some ways I take a lot of the experiences of other plays that I've done. Not About Heroes was something that I did a few years ago, which is also about the war and the effect that war can have on people, but humanity still exists, and it's lovely. And if when I look at Anya here, and she's smiling at me, there's this humanity, even though there's a story that we see on television which is just horrific. She's there's that humanity which exists beyond that.
I think it's just such a wonderful idea. It takes this play into a whole new area as well. What about then after Saturday? Do we any idea, Dorothy, as to whether this play might have an ongoing life, because you've loved it for so long? I'm guessing ideally you wouldn't want this to be the final chapter, would you?
Well, it's an interesting question. I think we're so thrilled to, after all this long time, actually to be seeing it produced. But yes, well, we talk jokingly about the fact that we're going to tour it all over Europe, and we're going to go to Berlin, and we're going to go to Paris. But who knows? We'll be very pleased, though, to have it successfully run in England already. Yeah. I wasn't sure how the English would react to it, because it's not their story in the same way that it is the French story. No. But actually people have been very moved by it.
Do you know where it might go really well, I'm thinking, is the Channel Islands, because of course they were occupied, so they will directly know what this is all about, won't they?
Oh, you've just given me an idea there. I'm sorry.
And they're English speakers.
Oh no.
So there you are. You should investigate that. Yeah. Sorry, I'll just take 10%. It's fine. Anyway. Are tickets available, do you know, anybody, for tonight, tomorrow, or the day after?
Yes, so there are still tickets available for all nights. Right. Tonight is beginning to fill up, and Friday is mostly sold now.
Yes.
But we still have some spaces on tonight and Saturday.
It's such a lovely space. I've been quite a few times.
Yes, it's a lovely theatre.
There's no bad seats. Everybody gets a good view. It's small but not too small.
Yes.
So you're totally involved in whatever's going on the stage.
And you've got a good view.
To everyone. Yeah.
It's a very intimate space. It's perfect for this production.
There we are. 3 more chances to see The Silence of the Sea at Progress Theatre. Thank you all very much for coming, and good to have you with us.
Thank you.